Hi there, this is Craig, and this is my next podcast, which is all about self-compassion. Uh, at the moment, with everything that's going on, it feels a good thing to be doing these podcasts just to give you a sense of mindfulness and a sense of calmness during these times. And self-compassion is one of those uh, traits that is very difficult for us to actually do. We find that we're quite good at helping other people if we see there's a need, but actually taking the time for ourselves just to sit and relax and replenish our batteries can be quite difficult. So we use mindfulness to be able to do this. When you're practicing mindfulness, you are giving yourself self-compassion and kindness because you're not thinking about the future or the past. So you're not dwelling on things, you're not worrying about things, you are present in the moment. And the present moment is where your happiness comes from, it's where your joy levels can get topped up, it's where a calmness and a peacefulness can uh, bring you to. It's a place where you can sit, and no matter what's going on around you, you can achieve a sense of space and contentment. So there's many ways of being mindful in order to do this. First is a good way is not beating yourself up. So you're having to notice your thinking. So there are thoughts that we have of I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or uh, I can't believe this is happening to me. Things like that, which have I in the sentences. And when you're thinking about yourself in this way, it actually causes you suffering. Your thoughts transform themselves into bodily emotions, such as anxiety or frustration, anger. So, noticing your thinking is one first step into kind of being more peaceful for yourself. But obviously, noticing your thinking can be quite difficult. We're living in our thoughts, we're in our subconscious minds most of the time, and that's what we're used to doing. So it's actually really good practice to start to notice what your mind is saying to you. It's the voice in your head as well as the voice that you speak with. So not beating yourself up is self-compassion. Um, Also doing joyful things. You may find that at the moment there's not much joy. You're busy, you're doing, you're working, you're worrying about the future, you're struggling in a different kind of paradigm at the moment with what's happening. So your mind's going to think a lot more. And when you're thinking, as I say, that creates more suffering for you. The trick is to try and think less and to create kind of joyful gaps between your what they call monkey mind. Your mind is constantly thinking about stuff. So we need to start interrupting those thought processes and having moments where we're not thinking, we're just being. And that's where mindfulness comes in. So you can just sit. At the moment, we're at home, so I would recommend sitting in a chair, really noticing the chair you're sitting on. Perhaps you can do that right now if you're listening to this in a chair. Just feel your connection between your body and the chair where you're sitting. You might notice sunshine coming through your window, or you might notice the warmth in the room. If you wiggle your toes, you'll notice your toes are wiggling. And what you're doing in these kind of situations is you're focusing your brain on awareness, which is a completely different sense to thinking. And so the more you're in this awareness, the more you're in mindfulness, you're in the present moment. You're not thinking about things particularly, you're feeling them. And it's this body feeling that what is what we're trying to achieve, is what we're trying to get to. Our awareness is this amazing sense that encompasses everything we do. When we're strong in our awareness, we can notice our thinking, we can notice our bodies, how they're feeling, we can notice other things as well. You see more clarity in everything. You could say that your mind calms down and then you receive kind of insights and clarity on what the best choices are for you. So at the moment, for example, you might be in subconscious responses at home. You might be perhaps raiding the refrigerator for snacks every so often because you're feeling bored or frustrated. And these are really sort of subconscious habits that form. And so it's useful to notice when these thoughts arise, when the craving begins and you're like, I could really go a snack right now. And if you notice it with your mindfulness, then you can challenge it. You can sort of have that choice. It's like, well, do I really need food right now? Or can I let go of that and just come back to my being? Maybe yes, maybe not, but at least you're beginning to notice. And this noticing is incredibly powerful because once you've noticed that you do something repeatedly in your subconscious, you decide to change. There's an inner wisdom that's kind of there going, this isn't that helpful for me. Let me see if I can change. So by noticing things, you're giving yourself self-compassion. So do joyful things. Try not to think too hard. If you're noticing you're feeling frustrated or uncomfortable, stop and come back to your breath because that's always with you. That's the first key to getting to the present moment, is breathing in and breathing out. And we'll do a little meditation shortly to do just that. You can practice joyful tasks, whether it's mindful colouring in or reading a book or sitting in the garden or listening to bird song, walking in nature. Mindfully walking is noticing the ground under you. We tend to walk with our heel and then our toe. So really focus on these things. If you're walking on gravel, hear the crunch of the gravel. Notice the different surfaces you're walking on. Notice if you're passing trees or seeing birds or seeing the sun or feeling the wind, feeling the sun. You might look up at the sky, looking at clouds. Just watching the world go by sometimes is really good. We find we struggle with these things because it's giving ourselves permission to do this, to sit. Our mind is immediately on us, saying, no, you can't just sit there. What about all the stuff that you've got to do? You may find when you're sitting still that you're fidgety. You feel bored, you're restless. There's an urgency to everything. You can't just sit there. There's so much for you to be getting on with. And your body will kind of highlight this with its fidgetiness. And your boredom is an emotion that's kind of, again, it's trying to get you to move. It's trying to get you to do something. It's inherent in us in current society at the moment to rush. It's built in, especially with our jobs and our deadlines. We're always striving. We're very rarely in the moment. If you're even making a cup of tea and you're waiting for the kettle to boil, most of the time we're probably moving around the kitchen doing something else, or we're thinking about our next thing that we need to do. We're not with the kettle or with our cups of tea. We're always thinking about the future. And this constant thinking about the future takes you away from the now, takes you away from the present moment, and is actually where your suffering comes from. It's where you start to worry or you get stressed because you're thinking about things too much. So in those situations, in actual life, it's so good to slow down and just be and just have those moments where you take your time, you stay with your cup of tea, you drink your tea mindfully. You enjoy the tea. You feel the heat from the mug in your fingers. You hear, you can feel the steam coming up to your face. You enjoy your tea. You find happiness and joy comes from your engagement with the present moment. So if you're thinking a lot and you're not really present, you walk from A to B or you drive from A to B and you don't know how you got to B because you've spent all the time in your head thinking about things, then there's not much joy in the walk or the drive. There's not much joy because you're worrying, you're thinking. So you find joy from the present moment. Mindful practitioners become happier because they're in the moment more, they're more accepting of what's going on. You notice as well the third element of mindfulness is non-judgment, which, as soon as you start judging something, then you're in your head and you're analyzing and you're thinking about things. So even a mindful walk, if all of a sudden it gets too cold or it starts to rain while you're walking and you've only got a t-shirt, you might be going, I wish I'd had my jumper with me, or I wish I'd had my coat, and I can't believe it's raining on me, and now my walk's ruined, and I only came out to have 5 minutes of peace, and now the weather's even conspiring against me, and these are very sort of, I'm being a bit humorous with the example, but you get the picture. You go into your head and notice the I's in those sentences. I wish it wasn't raining. If only things were different. And at the moment, we might be thinking a lot about those things. We're at home. You might be wishing that you weren't at home. You might be wishing for a return to normal life. You might be wishing that the virus would just go away. But all of those thoughts are basically taking you away from the moment and taking away your joy and giving you more impetus to worry or stress. So, doing joyful practices and being with them, so you're colouring in to colour in, or you're reading to read, or you're drinking your tea to drink your tea, is being in those tasks, noticing if your mind wanders away, and bring your mind back to the task. So no multitasking, no rushing, take your time, be with each task. Notice if you're thinking about the next, and come back to where you are. So that's adding being to your day, and it's also giving you joy. It's filling up what I call your love tank. If we're in our head a lot of the time, we're living more in fear than in love because we're worrying about stuff and we're thinking about this and analysing that and judging this and judging that. So non-judgment actually increases your love, your inherent goodness within you. We're all kind, loving human beings. It's just lost because we're in our heads thinking about ourselves and our worries. So if you can let go of your thinking, that's self-compassion. If you can notice what you say to yourself and give yourself kindness, take your time, be slow, try and smile if you can. That can be difficult when you're not feeling like it, but it really encourages happiness. Then you're beginning to get somewhere. You're beginning to get self-compassionate. So we're going to do a little meditation right now. I shall hit a bell to begin, but I'll guide you through. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. So just, I would advise you to close your eyes, just relax wherever you are, and let's have a few moments of present moment breathing just to calm us down and just bring us back to the moment and give ourselves some kindness and self-compassion. So I'll hit my little bell here just to begin. So just start by focusing on your breath. Just notice your in-breath and your out-breath. And really feel the air as you breathe in and really feel the air as you breathe out. Breathing in, you know you're breathing in. Breathing out, you know you're breathing out. And if your mind wanders away from your breathing into thinking, just notice it does this and gently bring your focus back to your breath. Breathing in calmly, breathing out easily. And just feel the connection between the chair and your body, or the ground under your feet. And just get a sense of how you're feeling in this moment. There may be thoughts or emotions or aches. Whatever's there, just continue to focus on your breathing. Just accept that these things are there. And as you breathe in, just breathe in some kindness to yourself. You can visualize this as white light entering your body from head to toe. Breathing in kindness, breathing out the present moment. And notice as well the quietness of where you're sitting. Just notice any sounds if they're there. See if you can notice the gaps, the spaces between sounds. And just listen, just let everything unfold in each moment without attachment or judgment. And then return your focus to your breath and just breathe in and out for the next few moments. And then just when you're ready, just gently open your eyes, come back to your space. So, that was just a few minutes of meditation just to try and ground yourself and focus on your breath. It's important to not worry if your mind is wandering, if it's thinking about things. That's just the nature of your mind. But what you'll find is the more mindfulness and meditation you practice, your mind gradually calms down the longer you practice. you find you're not so in your head, and you also find you're noticing what you're thinking about, which is really important, because then you can notice those thoughts that are not helpful to you. Thoughts are just thoughts, they're not you. You have an awareness of them, so there's something bigger than your thinking, this self that says I, me, and my in the sentences. So it's good to notice, and it's good to give yourself as much kindness and peace as you can. We're all human, we're all doing our best. Inherently, we are basically good people. And so this goodness is always there. There's times when we feel so frustrated or angry with people that we think there's no goodness in them or in us, but actually it is still there. So each time you feel uncomfortable, it's self-compassionate to stop and to breathe. Even one deep breath can be enough, just to let go of monkey mind and come back to your body. And accepting everything that happens, all the feelings that come in. We don't judge them. We don't judge that we're angry. We don't judge that we're anxious. We breathe them in, and we let them sort of stay for a while. They'll shift and change in our bodies, and then they'll move on, and we'll be in the next moment. So I hope this podcast has been helpful. This is one in a series, so there'll be more to come. So thank you for listening, and I hope you all are doing okay and staying well in this current time. Thank you.